Warning, spoilers ahead.
What's up, guys? It's your boy Alizi, and I just had the enormous displeasure of watching Season 8, Episode 3 of Game of Thrones last night on primetime HBO by mooching off of one of my friend's subscription, as I'm sure many of you are wont to do. And I just gotta say, what the fuck is this steaming pile of garbage doing in the place of one of television's most beloved series? You know, from as early on as Season 6, I don't even consider this show to be the same thing that mesmerized me all those years ago when I was just a wee lad, still being entertained by the likes of the Red Wedding. At this point, it really just feels like a shell of its former self, and we all know the reason.
How dare you stand where he stood?
I saw a clip recently where one of these two sociopaths said that Arya was going to kill the Night King, and they had known that for over 3 years. Take that in, 3 years. And then they went on to justify it by saying that it was perfect and so fucking brilliant that Arya should do it, because in all the chaos, no one would really know where she was. So who could possibly expect Arya to kill the Night King? I mean, gee willikers, that's the greatest idea since sliced bread, am I right? I mean, wow, that's exactly the kind of subversive writing that we expect from these two masters of deception who scaled illusion to level 100 in Skyrim as soon as they bought the game. And I have to ask myself, did these two muggles just forget about Azor Ahai, the major prophecy that they themselves incorporated into a major part of their work? And I hate to pull this card, but as one of the few high IQ elite evolved superhuman lizard people who has actually read the books, the exclusion of this prophecy altogether is like a slap across the nipple. I can't believe there was no one on the writing staff or anyone around them who actually read the books and said, "No, you guys can't do this. If you fuck up this badly, you will get death threats from a hardcore Hodor cosplayer who's reread A Feast for Crows 27 times." As soon as Conan O'Brien left The Simpsons writing staff to become a talk show host, the show became known as the Zombie Simpsons for carrying on despite its F-tier writing. Just like how in Game of Thrones, Tyrion conveniently started talking about his balls every 14 seconds as soon as Santa's older brother stopped consulting Dave and Dan. Now, some people think that the Night King's gonna make a comeback, but I'm not holding my breath. The trailer for next week's episode seems highly focused on Cersei, and it looks like she's gonna end up being the main villain of the last season, which is a real fucking shame. Plus, if I run this post-episode jerk-off fest through my quantum defibrillator, it looks like Dave and Dan are pretty pleased about how the Night King ended up dying. And the fact they said they've known it would be Arya for 3 years sounds pretty final to me. And if you add onto that the logistics of having him come back after he and his boys just got Thanos snapped, it looks like Arya's gonna keep on being the prince that was promised, which truly makes this the darkest timeline. Now, I watched this with my friend and we were both pretty pissed about it, but after scouring the internet after the show, it seems that the Reddit people aren't quite as up in arms about it as I am. Some, dare I say most Reddit citizens actually somewhat enjoyed this grainy monstrosity. Now, to be fair, there were some good moments, especially from Melisandre. When she was lighting the trenches on fire, surrounded by Unsullied, I actually got fucking chills. It was such a cinematic, epic moment that reminded me of The Lord of the Rings. You know, the final battle where you just have wizards and men and elves and dwarves and goblins and glimgloms from around the globe come together and fend off the ultimate evil. Ironically though, I think this is also what pissed me off, since Game of Thrones was never supposed to be this black and white depiction of good versus evil. Gurm has explicitly said that while he drew inspiration from Tolkien, the simplistic morality in Middle-earth was never something he wanted to emulate in his books. And it actually baffles me that Georgie allowed this to happen at all, which makes me think that he had little to no creative control in the final outcome of the show. If this was season 3 or 4, half of the main characters would have died at the end of the episode because of their bad decisions, instead of having invincible plot armor that's stronger than that of most of the Avengers. In conclusion, I will not be watching the last 3 episodes of Game of Thrones. Unless D&D pulled off the greatest acting ever in this post-episode cringe fest, I think the only thing I have to look forward to in my life anymore are the 2 remaining books. In fact, I urge anyone who watches this to boycott Game of Thrones as well, and to devote their time instead to something more worthy, like creating a Kickstarter to hire George R. R. Martin, a dietitian, or a personal trainer perhaps, really anything that'll help him live even a tiny bit longer and give us a slightly better chance of seeing the Winds of Winter at least come to fruition. Anyways, that's everything. Thanks for watching. Like and subscribe!